Hey everybody, it's Penny, and I'm here with an Elite Hypno Pro alumni interview. I've got with me today Martine Kotze. I hope I said it right. She told me I didn't have to say it, but people butcher my name all the time. So, I kind of totally get it. I'm easy to go with the flow. And anyway, I'm excited for this interview because it is yet another example of when you have a process and you have an adaptable way to lead a client through that process without guessing, without forcing them into a preset structure, you can get some really interesting results. And we're also going to bust this myth that you need 6 to 18 months of course and mentorship calls and practice sessions to get results. So, Martine, I love it. I'm so happy to have you here. Tell everybody a little bit about your background because if I remember correctly, you are a relationship coach. That's what you were doing when we first met. But what even got you into coaching in the first place? Because until I got into the online world in 2019, I didn't know what a coach was if they weren't leading a basketball team.
Yes, that's funny. Yes, thank you so much for having me, Penny. It's so lovely to be here. And I hope that I'll give a bit more clarity into my process and, just to make it easier for others because I know, you know, many people don't want to commit or they're scared. And so I hope our conversation helps. Yes, so I'm a relationship coach. And now I have to think back. It must have been around 2019. No, it was probably before 2019. I started coaching myself. I started getting my own coaches and seeing what the world of coaching could do for you. And it really transformed the way I was thinking, the way I saw the world. And at the time, I was we were moving from Toronto. Was living in Toronto and we moved to Antigua, a small little island in the Caribbean. And I was left with this void of what am I going to do next? And coaching just sort of fell into my lap, not because I chose it or anything, but out of need. My relationship at the time came to a crossroads, and I realized that, I needed to learn how to figure this out. And through that process, I realized that there's so many other people that struggle with relationships and no one talks about it. So you don't always know. And that's where I sort of became really fascinated with relationships. And I saw an opportunity to really help others while I was actually helping myself through my own relationship struggles. So yeah, I like first walking the road and then helping others to do the same. So yeah, that's how I started, and it's so fulfilling to work with couples. I work with couples mainly, and then I incorporated because as I was working with couples, I also saw that mainly for women it was really hard because they had such big self-worth issues, and that led to the breakdown of the relationship. So that was an interesting addition. So I started working with women in particular around self-worth. I have a membership where we work on every month. We work on these self worth issues, and we talk about things and we have deep, real conversations. When I met you, I was a very like my relationship coaching was going really well. But I did see this trend that I was helping people while they were in my coaching container. Everything was perfect. We were working towards, they were making such great progress. But the problem is when we stopped working together, they would always revert back to the old patterning.
Okay, so I want you to stop right there for a
Yes.
moment. Now, you've gone through your own work.
Mm-hmm.
There are two questions, and the one I want to start with is, what is your belief around helping people when you don't have it all figured out yet? Because people will often say, oh, as long as you're 2 or 3 steps ahead. And then there are other people who say that doesn't qualify you. And my philosophy is that if you have true lived experience, you know what works and you don't work, know what doesn't work. From that perspective, the people who resonate, you can help lift them up to where you are. Now, it's something different if you're professing to be a psychologist or something like that, and you're attempting to take them beyond you when you don't have that lived experience and you don't know what the hiccups are. So tell me a little bit about, did that feel integrity for you to work with people even though you weren't the expert yet?
Yeah, so that is it. It really came up strong for me in the very beginning because it did feel a bit like how can I help people if I myself don't really know what to do? But what I found, and this is where I aligned it to sort of my own integrity and values, is that when you help people from a place of compassion, leadership, um, and you're in that space where you actually growing together, because if I say that my clients taught me more than I taught them, it's a very real thing. Like together, and just by talking these things through, excuse me, you sort of both rise. Excuse me, got a tickle in my throat.
It's okay.
Um, and it's this beautiful thing that evolves between, because I'm not there to tell people what to do. I am there to hold the space for them while I just reflect themselves back and sort of just hold that space for them to figure it out themselves. And I think that aligns very closely to how you teach hypnosis, because to me, coaching isn't I tell you what to do or I give you advice. Sometimes you will like give people different perspectives, but when I realized that coaching is actually just this beautiful space to hold someone and to witness them and to just know that they're not alone. And when groups of women come together, that's even more powerful. Like women really learn very well this way when they start talking and back and forth. And I think that sort of just took that notion away and just sort of helped me see that you don't really have to be an expert. You just need to do your own work to be able to hold others
Yeah.
in that space.
And we'll get into the hypnosis piece in a little bit because hypnosis and coaching is a perfect marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing that really doesn't get taught in hypnosis trainings is how to help people sort through their own problems, because it is a dance no matter
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing. It's this beautiful dance between providing a space, and I don't often, I always tell my students, your job is not to fix people. Your
Mm-hmm.
job is not to tell them what to do, because we're only seeing a microcosm of their reality, and their subconscious mind knows what's going to work for them. There's nothing wrong with providing resources. And you might want to read about this and see if that resonates with you. But often my clients they have the general broad idea and we whittle it down as we go. Now, the other thing you mentioned was that they do the coaching, they're in the membership, and then when they don't have that continual support or touch point as a reminder of who they're wanting to be, they end up going back. Did you experience that yourself in your coaching?
Um, no, but the only reason I didn't, because I was very intentional with who I surrounded myself with, what I read, what I did. Like when I came out of coaching, I was so intentional with my steps forward that, and not many people are.
Yeah.
So
And
I
not many people have
it's
that
not to say
opportunity.
that, yeah, it's just that I knew that if I didn't, like after I stopped coaching, I was in a mastermind with like-minded women, which helped me. And then from there, I've always been in some kind of form of people helping me, though I surround myself with people that
Yeah.
lift me up and that keep me to my values and my standards. So I think that's the only reason. But had I not done that for myself, yes.
I think a lot of people aren't aware of the value of being intentional of who you surround yourself with. And some people, depending on where they live, especially when you work remotely like we do, they may not have that community. They might be the first person who's waking up to break the cycle, and
Yeah.
they're in the middle of it all the time. So, with your clients, when you would see them going back into the old patterns, um, in terms of you and your business, what do you feel that was costing you in terms of energy, time, money, your confidence in what you were doing, even your client relationship?
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like it's you start feeling like you're constantly saying the same thing over, and then it does affect your confidence. Then you question yourself, am I doing a good enough job for them to actually create change and not sort of get stuck every time? Um, which of course is not true. The only thing is that patterns are so deep and so deeply seated and rooted that, you know, we do go back so easily because our mind tricks us, and we do go back so easily. But I also never want to be the kind of coach who you need for the rest of it. I don't want to be a
Yeah.
crutch. So that's exactly what I coach. I coach women to be powerful and to be standing on their own 2 feet and to recognize their own power. So it's almost like what was happening was this what's the word, is it juxtaposition, like it I was teaching this, but yet I felt like they always needed me, which those two things were in opposition to each other, which
Yeah.
that I didn't like.
I, I think there comes a point where there's a transition from the need to, I find your perspective very valuable.
Yes.
And once you transition from the need to, I find your perspective very valuable. And once in a while, I want you there so that I can move more quickly. It's a completely different
Yes.
mindset.
Yes.
So I'm not a fan of clients for life, but I am okay with a client for life if it is that I just want to be able to call on you in a moment and boom, keep going,
Yes.
because time is important to me. But the need, that's a drain. And you're right, that is subconscious. It's that deeper pattern. How long were you in this place where you realized there had to be something other than coaching to get to that place?
Yeah, so I have always been, it's actually funny. I I found you by accident, I think, or not by accident, because I don't believe in accidents, but um I studied because I work with the patterning in women, and it's so important for me. I really broke down like the mind. I studied how it works, like all by myself, like self-study, but um it was really so important for me to help people manage these beliefs and these patternings. And so I got really into like how the mind works, so I obsessed over it. I was like reading everything I could. And then one day I found you in one of the groups. I was in Kathy Haller's group, and you were doing a hypnosis session. And the minute you came on, I was like, because I've always been fascinated by hypnosis, but not really, like just sort of thinking that is something I've always felt like that is something I want to look into. And when you came on, it was like something like a little intuitive hit, and it was just like, I need to know more about this. And then that just led from, you I went on to your website. I saw that you were doing a hypnosis secrets unlocked. I was like, this is cool. I wasn't even at that point thinking I want to do hypnosis. I was just like interested in. So um that's how I kind of, I didn't really always know that I wanted to do hypnosis. It was really something that was just sort of, for me, I felt just sort of guided and like,
So let's just take a moment about the Hypnosis Secrets Unlocked. That was, you were at the very first one I ever did, and it was a jam-packed 3 days. It's a 2 day workshop that I do now. Um, and it was really to give people a very honest and truthful behind the scenes of foundations of hypnosis. And I will be honest with you, my initial hypnosis certification was a 7-day program. And it was essentially that information plus stacks of scripts for smoking, weight loss, stress, all the different forms, copies of PDF handouts. And we watched a half a dozen different client direct suggestion sessions for different issues, which is scripted hypnosis. And when you really dive into the principles of hypnotic languaging and metaphors and all those things, then you can write scripts that have very deep transformation change. But that takes time to do something other than just take somebody through a visualization, to do really effective scripted work. And I remember Tina at the end of that 3 days, she goes, "You are crazy." Because I charged 97 and 197. She goes, "You are crazy. Do you realize how much you gave?" And I said, "But here's the thing. There are people charging $2,000 for a course that doesn't go much deeper than that. And you still have to take another training if you want to work with people who, really have deeply patterned issues they want to work with." So in that 3 days, for the investment that you made, what did you expect and what did you experience?
I really expected a very surface level, what is hypnosis? Sort of not even like scratching the surface is what my expectation was. What I got was 3 days. I remember being at the end of the 3 days, like going to bed at like 8 o'clock that evening and just being up. Like it was intense and
Yeah.
so amazing, so
Yeah.
amazingly intense. But you gave so much, like so much information. And like I felt like that even was like the basis. Like I don't even think a lot of hypnosis courses give that much.
Well, and that's one of the things that Tina and some of the others were saying, because we weren't just talking about information. You guys were asking really deep questions. And I did something that I had never really broken down on the board before. And that was the 3 different types of habits. I
Mhm.
wasn't taught that, but in the way I look at a client's challenge, I had to simplify and sort out what is my next approach. I don't like guesswork
Mm-hmm.
in what I do, but I think here's the thing. Well, let me ask you this: out of that 3 days, what left you thinking, "Oh my God, I can do this"?
I think it was just like we did it on the call. Like we, that's like we did
You
it.
you, you did it. And
Yeah.
so explain to people what you did.
So we would break off in little groups and we would hypnotize each other. And I mean, it was so easy and so simple, but like it gave you so much confidence
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. How do you know they were hypnotized?
because there's certain things that you look for.
Yeah. Did you have to guess or
No,
were they definitive?
no, they were definitive
Yeah. So when your practice partner hypnotized you, how do you know you were hypnotized?
because then there's also things that you do to convince the client. So there's convinces and what's the other word? Yeah,
Yeah. So this wasn't even a full course.
no.
And it was really an introduction, all of the basics. And at the end of the second day of practice, you used a rapid induction in a way that the majority of hypnotists don't learn,
Mhm.
and they're still left guessing. Did I ever teach you that if a client, if either they were air fingers, quote, what people like to call resistant, or that they had difficulty getting into hypnosis, did I ever teach you to tell them that they're probably one or two of the 400 that can't be hypnotized?
Nope.
What do we, what did what did I share with you all? What did you learn about clients that might be resistant? Is it the client's fault? Is it your fault?
No, it's usually just like a little part of them that might be resistant is because they don't understand hypnosis. They might be scared. Like there's just it's about hypnosis itself, which you haven't handled an objective. So
Yeah.
mostly it's your own protective mechanism or that client's own protective mechanism coming up, which prevents them from being hypnotized.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, people get so lost in the weeds of
Mhm.
um, things like suggestibility tests. And they have a lot of different hypnotic inductions. How many hypnotic inductions did you learn?
We learned in the 3 day, we
Well,
learned
even in
one.
the full training.
I think we learned one, right? And then variations of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is just so key to principles. So when you experience that, um, I know that you didn't sign up for the training right away. You did book a call. I mean, it was a few weeks.
Mhm.
Um, but something else happened where you knew, oh my God, this is right. And I believe that was the manifesto.
Yes.
How much did
So
that play a role in your decision?
huge because for me, like hypnosis is so sacred in a way. Like it's someone else giving you access to their most deepest like thoughts and memories that they don't even know sometimes. So there are hypnotists and there are hypnotists. And when I read your manifesto, it literally brought tears to my eyes. I was like, this is what I want to be doing.
I remember
Because,
getting that message from you, and
yes,
I knew I knew then that this was the right decision for me to write this.
yeah, it was so profound and so aligned that I was like so convinced in that moment that this was the right thing to do.
Yeah. So within the training, there's self study,
Mhm.
and then there's the live intensive. What would you want to share about the self study? What was it like to go through it? Did you experience any of your own personal shifts? Do you feel it was rushed? Was it overload? Just share that experience with people.
Yeah. So I would say that the self study was so foundational and so complete. Like it was, I can see how much work you had put into it because I know how much goes into creating courses and doing things. But it was really thought through so well, and it built on each other. So each week or each session that you did with a self study was so comprehensive and so that by the time I got to the 7 day, I felt so supported and so ready to do
Yeah.
this because it was so manageable. And I will tell you this. So why I didn't sign right up, I'll tell people why I didn't sign right
Please,
up.
full transparency, because
Yes.
people have these questions and
Yeah.
thoughts.
Firstly, so I didn't sign up right away because my life at that stage was a complete chaos. I had so between the time I signed up and the time we actually did the intensive in September, I was single parenting. My husband was working remotely for a while, so crazy. I was just single parenting. I was packing up my house because we were moving countries. Um, my daughter was going to university, so I had to sort her out, pack up her, and move her. And that all happened in the 6 months between signing up and actually doing the course. So your first course, I believe, was in July. I was like, I know there's no way I can do it. So, and then you let me sign up for the September course, which was so good. So I had that. Um, and I will say, even though it was so crazy, my life was so hectic, it was still very manageable for me to be able to do, like, I finished the whole self-study before I started. I think there were one or two books I didn't get through, which
but you finished them by the end. So what she means by one or two books is there are three books that are required reading. And from my perspective, apprenticing with the shaman, having done thousands of hours of client sessions, and having had the honor and the privilege of seeing my clients in the wild because they were referred to me from a coaching program, and I was in that coaching program. I would go back and look at where they were before we started working together. I knew what we worked on, and then I would watch how they went back into the wild after 4 or 5 sessions, or doing that deep longer work with me. That's why I transitioned to the deep longer work. And I began to see these patterns. And so those three books came off of the patterns in the subconscious work that we do. How do you feel that required reading has helped you in working with your clients, whether it's coaching or hypnosis?
Oh, it was so valuable. Like, the books that you recommended were just such a wholesome, because look, at the end of the day, I think with hypnosis and coaching, like, it's about understanding your client, and, as we said, having that space for them. And with all those, the reading, it just sort of gives you this overall perspective on your client, and where you can really come to the session with compassion and understanding. Because I think the more understanding you can bring to your session, the better the results for you as the
Yeah.
coach.
Now, did you ever wonder if you needed to learn psychotherapy, have a degree, CBT? Like, were any of those the things you ever questioned before you did hypnosis training?
No.
Yeah, I figure probably not because of your coaching background. Did I teach you any of those techniques?
Well, not that I know of.
Yeah. Do you feel like you?
So.
So you finished the self study and you went into the intensive. I I'm curious your take on simplicity and the effectiveness, because that's one of the things I really focus on is the simplicity.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think this 7 day look, it was intense. Like, it is, like, you're learning really big concepts, and it is intense, but
Mhm.
it's just a process you follow at the end of the day. And I never one moment felt overwhelmed. And by doing the self study, I feel was such a solid base that you could. I don't think I could have done it without the self study. Like, it would have been, like, the self
Yeah.
study really cemented everything I needed to know to then
Yeah.
be
This
able to.
training used to be a 10-day training, 2 5-day weeks
I
back
can
to back.
understand. Yeah.
And it's you get such time to integrate
Mm-hmm.
beforehand. Um, in terms of the intensive, do you feel that your questions were answered?
Yes, absolutely. Obviously, when you actually start having clients yourself, then things come up that, because there's nothing like experience, like getting the
Exactly.
actual experience. It's one thing to learn it from a manual, and then another thing to actually do it. So, but after the 7 day intensive, I mean, I was scared. I won't lie to you. Like, I was nervous about it. I don't think you couldn't be nervous, but
Right.
the it the process is so solid that there's really nothing that you have to leave for chance, and except whatever your client comes back with. But so I felt like all my questions were answered. You were so gracious in um, just allowing me the time to integrate and to experience hypnosis for myself, because I hadn't experienced hypnosis that much before. I did do some work with you, but it was so interesting because you really took me from teaching it but also experiencing it. And I think that is very valuable, because you can't teach something if you don't quite know how it feels on the other end of it. It's almost like we spoke about earlier about the lived experience. So and you had that time where you could actually practice. It's not all just you learning stuff. It's you gave me the experience of it, which was so cool and so amazing, so that you could, then go out and do it yourself.
Yeah. So from the time you finished, when did you do your first client session?
I had my first 2 clients lined up within the first week.
And how did that feel? Like, I know it's nerve-wracking when you've never done it before. Our brain doesn't recognize this is familiar, but how did it go?
So good. So, like, I honestly surprised myself. It was so good. I mean, one of my clients had such a amazing transformation. She came to me with something very different, and she wrote me a message like a few days later. She said, "You won't believe, like, even my parents, who she's had a strained relationship for most of her life, came back to me and said, there's something different about you. Like, we're so proud of you." And she said she just cried. She was like, nothing changed, but everything changed. So, and that was just from a one single session.
You will hear that a
And
lot in your
yeah,
career.
yeah. So that was so awesome. And it was so, um, you know, because when I went into it, I was really nervous. I didn't know if it would have any effect. Like, I was like, because you still question yourself. So, but you give such a great foundation that I was confident in that.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I added a few years ago, and I'm wondering if this, I know what other feedback people have given me, but I don't know if you use them. I ended up creating swipe files so that when you go into that first session, everything is in one place. You're not having to go through the manuals and pull things together. And that first session is really designed to set you up for success, therefore setting the client up for success. Did you use that?
That was the first thing I did, because I was, as I said, it was in that first week. I was still like sort of spinning, and I literally just went to the swipe file. I had everything right there. It was so easy. And so I didn't have to stress about that. Like, I could fully focus on the session,
That
and
presence,
that makes such a difference.
that presence with the client.
Yes.
So, where did that lead? You know, how long has it taken you to get a return on your investment with that?
Yeah. So I had those first 2 clients, and then within a month, I had another 2 paying clients, which covered almost like a third of my, no, definitely probably more than a third of my
I think we were
investment.
doing the math beforehand.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah. Yeah.
about half the investment within a month.
Yeah.
So you've had a challenging client because you come to the alumni office hours, which is where I mentor. Full transparency. Have you had to pay for that mentorship?
No. And that has been a lifesaver. Like, I cannot tell you, that alone is worth your investment. Like, it is so comforting knowing, because it's scary to do your first sessions and things go wrong. Not wrong, but unexpected things come up. And I go, oh, what do I do
Surprises.
now? What do I do now? because as I say, like you have to live through these things, like you have to go through it.
Yeah.
And I actually had a really challenging client. So those alumni sessions are still gold to me. Like just
So,
having the chance to ask you, and even like your group has I could message in the group, and
mhm.
just the love and support that I got from that is just knowing that that is there. Like it's that alone has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm so
So
grateful for that.
keeping in mind client privacy, which I know you do, but that's why I'm going to ask this question very generic so you can um, do this in your own way. This very challenging client, if you could share a little bit about how long you had been working with her and just a little bit how the patterns were keeping her. And then I don't even know this yet, so I'll be learning this for the first time. How many sessions you've done, and like what have her results been this far in terms of the pattern that just kept pulling and pulling her back?
Yes. So I had worked with this client for a long time, 3-4 years maybe. So I know her very well. She fully trusts me, which is good. Like that in any hypnosis session is amazing. Um, but she had this one pattern that we just couldn't figure out where it's coming from. Like it was just popping up, and even when we were doing our couple sessions, like there'd always be this thing coming up. And so I did 5 sessions with her. It turned out to be something so deeply seated that she didn't even remember. um that happened to her when she was under, like, I think about 1 year old, that her brain had even blocked out. And it was so fascinating. And that's when I knew how life-changing this work is. Like to be able to, and I mean, I'm not experienced necessarily. So it's not necessarily me. I know that it's the process that works. Um, so that was just so life-changing to me, knowing the kind of change you can make, which she then uncovered this. We worked with forgiveness. We, went through the whole process. And I mean, I told you the other day, I haven't even, she hasn't even messaged me in so long that I don't know when last this has happened.
How often
Which I
did she used to
absolutely,
message you before? So, people who aren't familiar, sometimes coaches, and I as a hypnotist, we have voice and text support
yes.
between sessions. So, how often was she messaging you before, and how many times, what percentage of that was crisis or spiral or meltdown?
Yeah, and we did a lot of work. We did a lot of work together. And I mean, she did amazing. But she used to message me probably once or twice a week in crisis. Um, and I haven't heard from her in so long, which I'm going to reach out to her just because I miss her now. But I mean, it's so incredible to be able to take something like that and really just dissolve it in a way that it no longer lives wildly in her.
Yeah, that's the power of this work because we can get to the nervous system imprints
Mhm.
before really hard concrete memory was formed. How do you see this changing your coaching practice going forward in your membership?
Oh, completely, completely. Just if you can work with a subconscious so powerfully, that changes everything. If you can take out that emotional component for people where they keep tripping up, and you can just neutralize that, that's everything. That's the way people respond, um, react. If you can help them through that, then they can access their own toolbox to be able to do so much more good. And in the world.
So you mentioned the one client that the parents were like, you've changed. This client that we're talking about now, does she have children?
Which one?
The one that you're talking about that you've been working with for a long time.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So if she has come to the point where she's not spiraling and messaging you twice a week because her emotions are driving her reactions, um, I would strongly encourage you to ask her what shifts she's noticed with her children. That is one of the most rewarding collateral benefits of this work. It's
Yes.
true generational pattern breaking. It's
Yeah.
just
Absolutely.
unbelievable. So, how would, well, first of all, who would you say that this training, this work, hypnosis, who would you say that this course and going down this path is really good for?
I would say anyone helping people that really has a heart for people, because there's so many ways you can help with hypnosis. There is like 1,000 different ways, and you could decide which way you want to go. But anyone that is serious about helping people and really and truly, I mean, my mind has been blown by the ways in which hypnosis has helped my clients, that I'm just such a big believer. And I guess it's not for everyone, but
Right.
it's just it's been, yeah, I would say try it out and see what you think.
Yeah. Even if someone didn't want to do actual one-on-one sessions with a client, do you think the training would shift how they do their coaching?
Okay, yes. So just before I answer that question, yes, I want to also say that that 7-day intensive was life changing for me. Like it, I can't actually put it in words, so I'm sorry if I can't really put it into words. But for me personally, I can't believe how much of a shift it brought about in my own personal life. I can't really explain it, but it's so that's one thing.
Yeah. So I mean, what shifted though? Was it your thinking? Was it behavior?
Yes, it's my thinking and the way I think about life and about patterns and about um I found this deep compassion for people in the way they do things, because I know that everything that people do is because of a patterning or it's because of something. So there was, all of a sudden I could tap into this deep compassion for people and the things they go through.
Exactly.
Like no one is a certain way just because that's what they were born. They're
It,
shaped.
it's funny. You're paralleling the podcast episode I recorded yesterday. So, what would you say to somebody who's on the fence about this particular training?
Um, I'd say I'd say to be ready. Like I think it's definitely good to be discerning and to know, that you're ready to do it. But then at the end, on the other end, like you won't know before you know. Like it's I did not know how incredible this training was going to be, and the like 180 life shift that it was going to give me until I actually started it. So I think it's helpful to be discerning. I think who you do your course with and your hypnosis with is very important. Hypnosis is not something that you should take lightly. It's not I think a lot of bad can be done with hypnosis in the wrong hands. So I think who you take your course with and who you train with is so key, because this is someone's like most sacred
Yeah.
memories, as I said.
So you mentioned something that I want to address that is a fear that sometimes people have, and that is that you could do bad with hypnosis. Do you feel that you were prepared to do no harm the way the training is set up.
Absolutely. So my husband keeps telling me the same, like, can't you mess up someone? Can't you, like, are you sure you know what you're doing? I'm like, I'm sure I know what I'm doing. Because in your training, you tackle every single area where things can go wrong. And what I also learned by having, like, I made a few mistakes in the first few clients. I also learned that you can't really do that much wrong, in air quotes, if your intention is well-meaning.
Yeah. Well,
So
the entire process is around guiding the client to uncover their own insights
yes.
and to uncover their own solutions. So we are not, I say that until I feel like sometimes I'm turning blue in the face in many different areas, not just the training. We don't tell the client what their problem is. We don't tell them what their false belief is. Uh, and we don't tell them what the solution is because we don't know. And, that those are the areas where unintentional, but very people want to be helpful, but unintentional projection
Yes.
can come in. And it's even though what we're doing is deeply emotional work, I do my best to drill those principles in so you're focused on the principles and not what am I going to say, so you can listen to the client
Yes. Yes.
and let them lead. How would you describe specifically training with me? How would you describe it in one sentence?
I would say it is the most um, gracious, beautiful. Um, you're just so you deliver everything so you give so much. Like you're so open with everything, and you're just it feels like drinking from a well, and just it keeps coming because it's just you never hide anything or keep anything because you want to sell it later, or like you're so gracious with your knowledge. um and there's very few people, I think, like I feel so grateful to you that I could learn from you, because you're just so open with what you have in sharing with what you have, because I know that it's taken you not 7 days to
Yeah.
get all of this. Like you just share all your knowledge, because a lot of people would like keep some, like I find
Well, I
sometimes.
really appreciate that you say that because when I set out to create Elite Hypno Pro, I did not want my students to descend into what I call upsell hell.
Yes.
And that is where you hold back and say, oh, well, if you want to learn this, here's the next class. There's a bro marketing technique that's solve one problem and create another so you have something else to sell.
Yep.
Well, I work with people who know they want to work with clients, and I learned the hard way, and I'm sure you did too with coaching, that, a training in hypnosis or a training in coaching is not going to teach you to build a business. One, there's not time within the training itself, but most people usually hold that out as a separate training. And then there's the basic hypnosis and then the advanced hypnosis. And you already had a business established, but I've done my best to provide people with what they need step by step, hold your hand to get your business set up so that you're not having to go
Yeah, I mean,
invest in something else. Has there ever been a gotcha on needing to invest in something else?
and then you also have, like, I will say this too, what's so helpful, you have the 30-day business starting. So once you finish your course, you walk people through step by step the next 30 days on how to, like, even if you haven't had a business ever before, like from that perspective, you are so helpful too, because you actually give business advice too. It's not just holding my hand saying this is how you should hypnotize or whatever if you run into any trouble. It's actually like, how do we get you to build a sustainable hypnosis business?
Yeah.
And there's very few people that will.
Yeah. I mean, I remember back in the day when I trained, it was as simple as doing some Google AdWords Express and clients flow in. But now people have international
Mhm.
alternatives. So you really have to have a presence and you have to have a way of knowing and figuring out what's working. So is there anything else that you would like to share that maybe I did not think to ask that has just really stood out to you about the training, your clients, your results, your own life?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything. But yeah, it was the thing I didn't know I need in my life, and I'm so happy that I trusted my intuition that one day. And you know, I think what I would say to people considering this is just trust your intuition, trust yourself
Yeah.
that you can do this. And because fear comes in and it speaks so loudly. Um, and if I listen to the fear that was chattering in my ear, like I maybe can't do this, or who am I to do this?
Yeah.
You would never know what you're capable of and what
Yeah.
you're capable of giving your clients, because I think that's probably my biggest, like I've surprised myself at what it's giving my clients, like the
Yeah.
depth of coaching and the coaching and the hypnosis together, which I love, is just like this deep transformation,
Yeah.
which I think
So,
people are ready for. And I also think what I will add to that is I do think people have such a misconception of hypnosis, that the more people that can work in it in such a like beautiful, sustainable way, helps for the greater good. But people are like, they don't really understand
yeah.
hypnosis.
So let's wrap this up by sharing with people who you work with and where they can find you, either for the membership, coaching, or hypnosis.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Penny. Yes, so you can find me on Instagram or Facebook, just Martine Kotze. And yeah, I run monthly membership for women, and we just have these beautiful conversations. And I'm now introducing hypnosis, obviously, to my membership every month. And so I work with women. If you're at all, doubting yourself, or your relationship is kind of shaky, or in a place where you're not sure, a lot of people come to me and say, my partner needs to change. Like when they come to me, but at the end of the day, you realize it's actually just you. And when you change, everything around you changes. So yeah, and then I work with couples. I see couples one-to-one. Like, it's obviously not a group, it's a one-to-one. I have a 3-month coaching container for couples. And yes, then I have my hypnosis section that is recently opened up. So I'm so excited for this year.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing with everyone. In the description of the video, you'll find the links to go connect with Martine, and you will also find the link for the next Hypnosis Secrets Unlocked. It is really the easiest way for you to have a live immersion experience into what hypnosis is about before you make a commitment to which direction you want to go. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
Bye.
so much, Penny. Thanks, everyone.